Hello! Welcome to class number 14. This is Rodrigo Bifer, and today we're having our class number 14. So welcome to the class. I hope you will love this class. Today will be a very nice class, and you are going to have a lot of fun and you're going to learn a lot of English. Make sure you watch this video until the end, and please give it a thumbs up, okay? As soon as you watch this video. And if you like learning English with me, come and join us. Join our group, our WhatsApp group, to have the free English classes every week. You can do that by visiting my website, inglesperfeito.com, or just WhatsApp me at 16-993-226060. Okay, so let's get started. All right, we have here on the left list of all the topics we're going to see and study on today's class. We're going to talk about questions with the verb be, so information questions, yes, no questions, what plus like questions, there plus be questions, so lots of fun. We're going to talk about short answers, asking about personal information, asking about jobs, asking about routine, daily routine. Okay, we already talked about that, but now we're going to focus on questions and questions with other verbs in the present simple tense. So let's get going. Okay, first of all, let's remember how to ask questions with the verb to be. Before we do that, first of all, what are the three words which make the verb be in the present simple tense? So what are the three words of verb to be conjugated in the present simple in English? I'm sure you remember that. It's really easy. And the words are am, are, and is. Am, are, and is. These are the three words that make the verb to be in the present tense in English. If you really want to memorize them and not forget them anymore, and make sure you really remember them all the time, you can remember that the three words together form the word amareis in Portuguese. Okay? All right. So, do you remember when we talked about introductions? So, in one of our classes, some time ago, I don't remember which class, but in some past class, we met some people, Diego, Sojung, Pablo, okay, and we talked about the ways people introduce themselves. So Pablo would say, "Hi, my name is Pablo. I'm from Mexico. I'm 17 years old. I live in Texas. I'm a student at Adams High School. I am at a school now, and I am in room 9. Sojung would say, "Hello, my name is Sojung. I'm from Korea. I'm 24 years old. I'm single. I live in California. I'm a student at Edson Adult School. I am at work now." And there was Diego, who said, introduced himself by saying, "Good morning, my name is Diego. I'm from Honduras. I'm 37 years old. I'm married. I live in Virginia. This is my wife, Anna. We have 2 children. Junior is 8 years old and Melissa is 9. I am a student at Lake Community College. I am at home now." Okay, so this is important because these people were really talking about themselves. This is introductions, when people give information about their names, where they are from, how old they are, where they live, where they go to school, where they work, about their families. Okay, this is called introduction. Okay, so today we're going to talk about questions. All right, so we're going to start by doing exercise number 1. I already sent you the exercise beforehand, so we're going to correct it. Now I hope you have tried to do the exercise, and there you are, exercise number 1. You're supposed to write questions for these answers. So look at number 1, okay? You have actually 7 answers, and you're supposed to write the questions, okay? So in number 1 you have, my name is So Jung. So you remember, this is an introduction when someone tells you, okay, their name. Okay, so using the verb to be, here you can see the verb to be because she says, my name is So Jung, and is the verb to be, of course. So my name is So Jung. But when you make a question, what happens? Okay, so how would you ask a question in that situation for number 1? Let's take a look at the answer then. All right, so the question is, what's your name? Okay, very simple, a very simple question. What is, you can say what is separately or contracted, abbreviated. Okay, so what's your name? What's your name? My name's So Jung. Okay, so there you go. That's the question using verb to be. Number 2, I am from Vancouver. So verb to be again, I am, I'm. Okay, contracted. The contracted form is I'm. So I'm from Vancouver, Canada. Okay, so the person is telling you where they're from, okay, their country of origin, okay, their city and country. Okay, so what's the question? I hope you have gotten it right. Exactly. Where are you from? Where are you from? Okay, so you have verb to be for you, which is are. Okay, so you are. But now you have are you, because it's a question. So where are you from? And then I'm from Vancouver, Canada. Let's look at number 3. The answer is yes. My English classes are very interesting. Okay, so what could be the question in this case? Okay, the answer begins with yes. Okay, so in this case, the answer doesn't just give you information. Like in number 1, you have some information. Okay, you have the person's name. My name is So Jung. For number 2, you have some information where the person is from. Okay, the person is from Vancouver, Canada. But here, you don't only have some information. Before you have the information, you have the word yes. And if the answer is yes, we call this kind of question a yes/no question, because there are only 2 options, yes or no. Okay, so the best way, I think, of asking a question here is, that's it. Okay, are your English classes interesting? Okay, so your English classes, this part that is, highlighted in green, mean the subject. Okay, so what are we talking about here? We're not talking about a person. We're not talking about a person's name. We're not talking about a country. We're talking about the person's English classes. So your English classes, are they? It's plural. Okay, so are they interesting? Yes, they are. Okay, they are very interesting. So are your English classes interesting? And we use are because your English classes is plural. Okay, so are your English classes interesting? The intonation goes up in the end because it's a yes/no question. You expect an answer. Okay, no, they aren't, or yes, they are. In this case, yes, they are. Okay, yes, my English classes are very interesting. Okay, I hope you got that right. Let's go to number 4. My favorite sport is basketball. Okay, so here you have an information question. What's the information? The person's favorite sport. So the question will be, what's your favorite sport? Okay, what's your favorite sport? My favorite sport is basketball. Okay, your favorite sport is singular, just one sport. So we don't use are, but we use is. What is your favorite sport? What's, okay, contracted form. What's your favorite sport? My favorite sport is basketball. All right, let's go to number 5. Here you have an answer beginning with no. Okay, no. So this is a yes or no question. Yes, no question. And the answer here is no. No, my teacher isn't American. All right, what do you think the question will be? I'll give you some time to think about it. And the best question, in my opinion, is your teacher American? Is your teacher American? No, my teacher isn't American. Okay, my teacher is not American. So isn't is the negative, is the contraction, is not. Okay, is your teacher American? The intonation goes up again, just like in number 3. So numbers 3 and 5 are what we call in English yes, no questions. Okay, is your teacher American? The intonation goes up in the end of the question. And the answer is no, he is not, or no, he isn't, or no, my teacher isn't American. Okay, he or she, because teacher is a word that could be used for both man or a woman. So my teacher isn't American, he isn't American, she isn't American. Okay, is he American? Is she American? No, he isn't. No, she isn't. Okay, number 6. My classmates are very nice. Wow. Okay, for number 6, there is a little difference. Okay, here for this question, I'm looking for a question that we already talked about in some of our past classes. Okay, we already talked about the question, I hope you remember, which is used with the verb to be and a preposition, and it's a question used to describe something, to ask people to tell you about it. Okay, so if you want someone to tell you about their classmates, okay, give them some information, a description. Okay, what question can you ask using verb to be and the preposition like? Like is the preposition that we use to make a question with the verb to be. Okay, so this is what we call what plus like question. What plus like, because we use the word what, the verb to be, and the preposition like. So the best way to ask this question, to ask for a description, would be, have you guessed? All right, I hope you have just gotten this perfect. What are your classmates like? What are your classmates like? What are your classmates like? Okay, so here we're asking, please tell me about your classmates. Tell me what they are like. Okay, like here is a preposition, and that's the question for asking for description. Okay, your classmates is plural, so we use the verb to be form are. Okay, and the last one, number 7, my best friend is Maria. By the way, I'm going to show you in a slide soon another example of what, verb to be, and like. Okay, that we just used some classes ago. Okay, I'm going to repeat and show you again very soon. All right, let's go to number 7. My best friend is Maria. Maria is a person. We're asking a question about a person. What is the question word for people? The question word for people is who. Okay, who. So the question is, who's your best friend? Okay, who's your best friend? And that's an information question. Who's your best friend? I want to know who the best friend is. And the answer is, my best friend is Maria. All right, so here we have verb to be and the subject that we're talking about. Okay, so in number 7, verb to be is because your best friend is a person and it's singular. Okay, let's move on. Here is the slide I was telling you about. This is an example of how to use what, like, to ask for a description. So if you want to know information about what the weather is like in São Paulo, okay? So the city of São Paulo is usually warm in summer and cold in winter. It rains a lot. Is it windy? Is it usually sunny? Does it snow? Okay? You're interested in knowing about the weather, okay? Because you're traveling to São Paulo and you have to know what kind of clothes you're going to wear. So if you need this kind of information, you need someone to tell you what the weather is like. So what is like equals tell me about whatever you are asking, okay? So what's the weather like in São Paulo means tell me about the weather in São Paulo. Tell me about the weather in São Paulo. And that's very similar but a little different from the second question, in which we don't use the preposition like and we don't use what, we just use how, okay? How is the weather in São Paulo? This is a little different because now when we ask how is something or someone, we want a description of what the person or the thing is right now. So when I say how's the weather in São Paulo, I'm interested in the weather right now at this moment, okay? So if someone asks you how are you, they're talking about this moment, okay? And if they ask what is your father like, for example, they want you to describe your father. Oh, he's tall, he has short hair, he's very intelligent, etc., etc. So these is just for you to get the difference between the question what like and the question how. Let's move on. All right, so in English, the verb be comes before the subject, okay? Before the subject. So am I, are you, are we, are they, is he, is she, and is it. This is the sequence of verb to be and subject, and that's the sequence for questions, okay? For affirmatives you will say I am, but for questions am I, okay? For an affirmative sentence you would say you are, but for a question you would say are you, okay? So when we make questions, okay, we have to place the verb to be before the subject. So take a look at these questions that we have just seen in the slide before, okay? What is your name? So is your name. Where are you from? Are you, okay? So subject comes after the verb to be, okay? So are your English classes interesting? Are your English classes, okay? What's your favorite sport? Is your favorite sport. Is your teacher American? So is before your teacher, okay? What are your classmates like? So are comes before your classmates, which is the subject, okay? And finally, is your best friend, okay? Who is your best friend? So you can see that the verb to be is always before the subject in questions, okay? And I hope this is easy for you. I hope you already you had already grasped that idea, okay? So let's move on to something a little different now. Remember some classes ago when we talked about describing a place, okay? Do you remember that? We described a bedroom, okay? So we had a picture of a bedroom and we gave a set of sentences, okay, describing this bedroom, okay? So some sentences were referring to position, and others were referring to things in the bedroom. Okay, so if you look at the floor, you can see a green rug on the floor. So what would be the best way to talk about that? You would say there is. Okay, you use the verb to be, but we also use the word there. There is a green rug on the floor. Okay, and so on, so on, so on. So let's take a look at the sentences. Okay, all right, this is exercise number 2. Okay, I'm going to correct this exercise now. Okay, and if you had time to do it, to give it a try, that's very good. If not, try to do this now. Okay, as you go. Okay, so here you have the exercise telling you to make these affirmative sentences into questions. So look at the first affirmative. There is a green rug on the floor. Okay, so in that bedroom, when we were describing the bedroom, we look at the floor and we see the green rug. So we say there is a green rug on the floor. This is an affirmative. Okay, I'm saying there is a green rug on the floor. But how can I make this sentence into a question? Okay, so actually remember that for questions the verb to be comes before the subject. Okay, all right, so here what happens is that the verb to be will come before the word there. Okay, verb to be will come before the word there. So instead of having the sentence in an affirmative format, there is, there are, we have is there, are there. So is there, is comes before there, are there. Okay, so the first one, to make this a question, we would say, is there a green rug on the floor? And that would be the question. Okay, so is there a green rug on the floor? And that's a question, because now verb to be is before the word there. And that's all that is. It's really simple. Okay, we just invert verb to be and the word there. Okay, number 2, there are some books on top of the bookshelf. There are some books on top of the bookshelf. Bookshelf is that object you put books on, okay, to keep the books. So there are some books on top of the bookshelf. How could you make that into a question? You guessed, that's right. Exactly. So are there any books on top of the bookshelf? Are there any books on top of the bookshelf? Please notice that the word some turned into the word any. Okay, because for affirmatives we use some, but for questions and negatives we use any. Okay, so are there any books on top of the bookshelf? Okay, now how would you answer that question? Okay, you would answer questions number 1 and question number 2 with a sentence that we call in English a short answer. Short answer. So if you look on the right, to the left of your slide, you see that we're going to talk about short answers. Okay, so is there a green rug on the floor? This is a yes/no question. Why? Because it begins with the verb to be. Okay, so when a question begins with the verb to be, the first word is or are or am, or the verb to be in the past that we haven't studied yet, but the verb to be in the past is was and were. When a question begins with the verb to be, we know this is a yes/no question. So the question is there a green rug on the floor? And we know there is a green rug on the floor. So the answer would be yes, there is. Okay, yes, there is. In case there was no green rug on the floor, we would say no, there isn't. Okay, no, there isn't. And it's the same for number 2. Are there any books on top of the bookshelf? Suppose there are no books, 0, no books. You would say, no, there aren't. Or you could say, no, there aren't any books on top of the bookshelf, okay? But the short answer is just, no, there aren't. That's all, okay? And that's enough for people to know that you are answering that question, okay? And in this case, we know that there are some books, so the answer is going to be, yes, there are. Are there any books on top of the bookshelf? Short answer is, yes, there are. All right, let's go to number 3. There aren't any hangers in the wardrobe. So the question would be, aren't there any hangers in the wardrobe? Notice that this is a negative question. We're asking a question with not. Okay, we're asking a question in the negative tense. Okay, we're not just asking, are there any hangers in the wardrobe? We're asking it negatively. We're saying, aren't there any hangers in the wardrobe? That's probably because we are surprised, okay, about that kind of information. So we say, aren't there any hangers in the wardrobe? I mean, there should be hangers, right, in the wardrobe, but we're asking it in the negative. And I placed that question that way so you would see that it's possible to ask a question negatively, okay? And what about number 4? Number 4, there isn't a mirror in that bedroom. There isn't a mirror in that bedroom. That's a negative sentence, okay? There isn't a mirror, so no mirror in the bedroom, okay? And the equivalent question would be, isn't there a mirror in that bedroom? Isn't there a mirror in that bedroom? Okay. So again, a question in the negative, okay? So we're surprised. How come? Okay, isn't there a mirror in that bedroom? I don't believe it. Okay. But that's the question, okay? And the verb to be is there before the word there, okay? So isn't there a mirror in that bedroom? That's only inverting the verb to be and the word there. It's really simple, okay? Look at the last 2 questions now, numbers 5 and 6. Number 5, there is no air conditioning. There is no air conditioning in the bedroom. Okay, there's no air conditioning. Air conditioning, you know, that machine that makes the air cooler in hot days. We usually like that in a hot weather. But there's no air conditioning in the bedroom. So we are using the word no to make the negative, okay? Instead of using there isn't, we use there is in the affirmative, and then we use the word no, okay? Which is the same as saying that there isn't air conditioning. There is no air conditioning. It's a negative using the word no. And so the question is very simple. We just use the verb no in the question the same way. Is there no air conditioning? Is there no air conditioning? So it's the same situation that we had in questions numbers 3 and 4. It's a negative question. Is there no air conditioning? Okay. And for number 6, it's the same but plural. Okay. There are no pictures on the wall. That's a negative sentence, but using pictures in the plural. Okay, so the question will be, try to think about it before I show you what the question is. Exactly. Okay, so are there no pictures on the wall? Are there no pictures on the wall? Okay, and you could answer, that's right, there are no pictures on the wall, or no, there aren't. Okay, there are many ways. If you were trying to answer this with a short answer, number 5, is there no air conditioning, would be answered, no, there isn't, or no, yeah, that's all. No, there isn't. A short answer. Okay. Are there no pictures on the wall? No, there aren't. Okay, so we use isn't and aren't for short answers, even when the question is asked with the word no. Okay, so this is a different way of asking questions using there is, there are. Just remember to invert. Okay, is there, are there, aren't there, isn't there. Okay, and that's there plus be. Okay, questions and short answers. Let's move on. Let's continue our class. Okay, now the class gets really interesting, because now we're going to talk about questions with other verbs. That's right. Okay, we're not just looking at verb to be anymore. Okay, is, are, am, amareis. Okay, am, are, is. No, now I'm interested in other verbs. Of course, there are so many verbs in English. Okay, so verbs like write, build, listen, call, read, run, play, look, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so if we're using other verbs, okay, to ask questions and to talk about our lives, to say whatever we want, we must know how to use these verbs in affirmative and also in questions. Okay, in affirmative in English, it's easy. You just use the verb the way it is. It's called infinitive form for I, you, we, and they. So for the first, second and second person in the singular, and in the plural for first, second, and third person. The only difference will be the third person singular. We're going to talk about this in a few minutes. Okay, I'm going to show you a slide where I explain what you do with the verbs in the third person singular when we're talking about he or she. Okay, a person in the singular. Okay, so this is different. So how can we use these verbs in English? Let's go. Let's see. All right, we have here exercise number 3, of course, one more exercise. Okay, so hopefully you had time to try to do the exercise before the class, hopefully. Okay. All right, so take a look at this exercise. Write questions for these answers. Okay, it's an exercise very similar to exercise number 1, but now the verbs are different. The first one, for number 1, we have verb be, I am. But for the others, we have I live, I play, my sister goes. Okay, we don't like dogs, we prefer cats. He has 5 pets. And number 7, Brazilians work hard. Okay, so we're using verbs like go, play, live, work, have, like, prefer, etc., etc. These are other verbs that are not the verb to be. But for number 1, for question number 1, we can use a different verb too, not verb to be. Okay, look at the answer. The answer is I am a tour guide. What does tour guide mean? Tour guide is a job. Okay, that's a profession, a job. What does a tour guide do? What does a tour guide do? Okay, a tour guide takes people on tours to different countries, to different cities. Okay, so he helps tourists to go visit places, different places. Okay, on tours. Of course, you could use the verb to be for question 1. You could say, what's your job? And that would be perfect. Okay, what's your job? But there's also a different question that we usually use in English to ask for a person's job. Okay, and what is that? Do you know? What's the question that we use with another verb, not to be, other verb, with the other verb, and it means the same. It means, what's your job? Okay, have you any idea what the question is? Let's take a look. The question is, what do you do? Okay, so when you ask a person in English, what do you do? The answer is usually the person's job. Okay, the person's job. So what do you do? I'm a tour guide. Okay, all right. So the verb here, the main verb, is the verb do. Okay, not the one in red, the one in black, the second one, the one close to the question mark. Okay, that verb means do means fazer. Okay, what does do mean? It means fazer. Okay, so what do you do? O que você faz? And then eu sou guia turístico. O que eu faço? Minha profissão. Okay, what do you do? I'm a tour guide. All right, just remember this verb do. Okay, now look at number 2. What's the verb in answer number 2? It's the verb live. Okay, live means morar, viver. Okay, so I live in Vancouver, Canada. Eu moro em Vancouver, Canada, no Canadá. Okay, eu vivo em Vancouver, no Canadá. Eu moro, I live. Okay, so what question word and what verb you have to use the verb live. Okay, and the question word is where, of course, because you're asking about a place. So I hope you got this right. The question is, where does John live? Oh, okay. The question in I just changed the question here. Okay, I just changed because the answer before was I live in Vancouver, but here I changed to John lives. Okay, because I wanted to use third person. Okay, he, John. Okay, not I live in Vancouver, but he lives. John lives in Vancouver. So now we're asking about John, not about me anymore, or you. Okay. All right. So I've just changed here. It was a change that I made to make the class more interesting. So here we're talking about John. John lives in Vancouver, Canada. So if by the way, if the question was using I live in Vancouver, you would say, where do you live? Where do you live? Okay, I live in Vancouver, Canada. Where do you live? But here I changed to John lives in Vancouver, and so the question became, where does John live? Where does John live? Okay, and that's an information question, just like number 1. Number 1 is an information question. Number 2 is an information question. Number 3 is not an information question. Number 3 is a yes/no question. Okay, because the answer is yes, I do. Okay, yes, I do. So you know that the question begins with the auxiliary do, and the question in number 3 has no question word. No question word. Okay, there's no what, where, how, why, when, nothing, because otherwise it would be an information question. In this case we have a yes/no question, so the question number 3 must begin with the auxiliary verb do. Okay, do you, because the answer is yes, I do, so do you. Okay, I play basketball. Basketball is a sport. So in my opinion, the best way to ask a question here is, do you play any sports? Okay, there you go. Do you play any sports? Yes, I do. I play basketball in my free time. All right, so it's a perfect example. Okay, do you play any sports? Yes, I do. I play basketball in my free time. And this is a yes/no question. Okay, take a look at number 4. My sister goes shopping on weekends. That's information. Okay, information question. Well, goes is an activity. Okay, so she goes shopping. My sister goes shopping. That's what she does. Okay, well, there are many ways you can ask a question here. Okay, you can ask who goes shopping. You can ask when she goes shopping, which is on weekends, or you can ask what she does on weekends. Okay, all of them would be correct. Okay, so I'm just saying that there are many possibilities for number 4. If you asked the question different from my question, the one I'm going to show you now, it's okay. The one I thought of was, when does your sister go shopping? Okay, when does your sister go shopping? Okay, of course you could have asked, what does your sister do? What does your sister do on weekends? That would be perfect too. Okay, because you would say, well, she goes shopping. Okay, and that would be okay. But I wanted to use go shopping in the question. I wanted to use the verb go in the question, and so I used when, because the information is on weekends. So when does your sister go shopping? I know that she goes shopping, but when does she go shopping? Well, she goes shopping on weekends. Okay, all right, let's move to number 5. This is a yes no question again. No, we don't like dogs. Okay, no, we don't like dogs. The question must begin with do. Okay, so do you, and then the answer is we don't like dogs. So what would the question be? Do you like dogs? Okay, do you like dogs? No, we don't like dogs. We prefer cats. Okay, notice that you here is plural. Okay, you, do you like dogs? You here is plural. There's no difference between you as singular, just one person, second person you, or you plural. Okay, both are the same. Okay, so in this case we're asking a question for more than one person, and they answered no, we don't like dogs. So 2 people or more, we. Okay, plural, we don't like dogs. Number 6, he. Okay, now it's a third person singular, he has 5 pets. Has is the conjugation for the verb have. Okay, but third person, in the third person singular we say has. He has 5 pets. So here I'm interested in the number of pets. Okay, he has 5 pets. What question word is used for numbers? I think you know this answer, and the answer for what question word is used to ask about numbers is how many. So the question, I hope you got that right. The best question here, in my opinion, would be how many pets does he have? How many pets does he have? How many pets? All that is the question. Does he have? Okay, pay attention. Have here is used in the infinitive. Okay, how many pets does he have? He has 5 pets, 2 dogs and 3 birds. And finally, number 7, yes, they do. Brazilians usually work hard. Okay, so yes, it's a yes no question. Brazilians is they, plural. Okay, so we use the auxiliary verb do. Okay, so there we go. Do Brazilians work, the main verb, hard? Okay, that's the question. Let's take a look. Do Brazilians work hard? Do Brazilians work hard? All right, okay, I hope you got all of them right. Let's take a look at the way we make questions in English. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Okay, do Brazilians work hard? Yes, they do. They usually work hard. Okay, let's go to the next slide and take a look at the rules we use to make questions. Okay, first, third person singular. Third person singular in English is usually represented by he or she or it, but it could be a person, a person's name. It could be an object, a situation. Okay, a man, a woman, anything, okay? But it's the third person because we're talking about that person, and it is plural. I mean singular, sorry, singular. You got that right, singular. So third person singular in the present simple or simple present tense gets an S on the verbs. So just like you saw on the exercise, we had S on the verb, okay? So some examples are: Mary feeds her dog, Peter enjoys the food, Tim always cooks dinner, okay? So we have an S on the verb. Feed becomes feeds, enjoy becomes enjoys, cook becomes cooks, okay? Some verbs get es, okay? So examples are the verb watch, okay? So Tim watches TV every night. Dress becomes dresses, and then you have es on the verb, okay? So May usually dresses in pink, ok? May usually dresses in pink. Dress aqui é o verbo vestir-se, vestir-se, ok? Então a May geralmente, normalmente, se veste de cor de rosa, ok? Pink. Bob never washes his car. Bob never washes his car, okay? So washes gets es, okay? And also the verbs that finish in y usually drop the y and get ies. Examples are the verb cry, okay? So the baby cries loudly. The verb carry, so Peter carries a heavy bag. And the verb dry means secar, okay? Secar. So Tina dries the dishes every night. Tina seca as louças toda noite. Other examples: do becomes does in the third person singular, have become has in the third person singular, and go becomes goes in the third person singular. Okay, so this is really important because if you make a mistake, you will get the wrong verb. Alright, so in English, the verb do is used in questions as the auxiliary verb in the present tense. So what happens is that we always use the verb do as the auxiliary verb. So we will add the verb do before the subject. Do I? Do you? Do we? Do they? And for the third person singular we use does. Does he? Does she? Does it? Okay, so that's what happens with questions with other verbs, okay? We use an extra verb called an auxiliary verb, okay? But why? Why do we use auxiliary verbs? Why must we use an auxiliary verb in English? Well, the answer is that auxiliary verbs make English grammar much easier. The auxiliary verbs make English really easy because the main verb stays always in the infinitive. Okay, so the auxiliary verbs are wonderful because they make English really easy. That's right. That's a rule, okay, in English. Auxiliary verbs bring the main verb to the infinitive form, okay? And I like to abbreviate this to make this abbreviation AI, okay? Some people will say that AI is the abbreviation for artificial intelligence, but I like to think about AI as the auxiliary in grammar in English, the abbreviation in English for the grammar rule auxiliary infinitive. Okay, so when you think of AI, you may say, okay, that may mean artificial intelligence, but it also means auxiliary infinitive. Okay, so that's a rule, and it always stands. Okay, so now that we know we have seen all this, all that these pieces of information, what is the rule for making questions? Okay, so that's what I want you to think about now. Okay, what's a rule for making questions in English? Okay, so where does the auxiliary verb go? Where does the auxiliary go? So letter A stands for auxiliary. Where does it go in the sentence, in the question? What happens to the main verb? Well, we know, we just talked about that. What happens to the main verb? It stays on the infinitive, or it stays in the infinitive form, okay? Infinitive. But where exactly, okay? And where does the subject go? So S stands for subject. Where does the subject go in the sentence? And what about the question word? So Q stands for question word, okay? You know the question words, right? What are the question words in English? Let's take a look. Here I have some question words for you, okay? What, where, who, when, how, why, which, whose, etc., etc., etc. There are more question words, okay? We just saw some slides ago, okay, in the exercise, we saw a question with how many, okay? So how many, how much, okay? There are question words that are formed with more than one word, okay? But these are all question words, okay? So now let's answer the questions. If you look at the questions that I just asked right here on this slide, okay, where does the auxiliary go? Okay, where does the subject go? Okay, these questions are following a rule, are following a sequence. Okay, where is the question word? Does is the auxiliary. Okay, look at the question, where does the subject go? Okay, where does the subject go? Go is the verb in the infinitive. So everything is right there, right before your eyes. And the formula is, okay, the formula is question word, and question word here is between brackets, because question word may not exist in yes/no questions. Okay, I mean, when the questions are yes/no questions, then there's no question word. Okay, so question word may not exist in some questions, and then when that happens, the first word in the question is the auxiliary. Okay, the auxiliary verb do or does. Okay, in the present simple we use do and does. Okay, just like we just said. So question word when it exists, when it's information question, then auxiliary, then subject, and then infinitive of the main verb. Okay, and after the infinitive of the main verb, you may have something else or not. Okay, you may have a continuation of the question, some words, some adjectives, whatever. Okay, or not. That's why I just put some dots there that mean that there may be something else or not. And so what do we do with this formula? We write it like this: QASI, and then 3 dots. Okay, that is all you have to remember, all you have to know when you ask questions in English. Not all kinds of questions, of course. Okay, there are exceptions, but most questions, okay, most questions are formed like that. Okay, QASI, 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 question, auxiliary, subject, infinitive, question, auxiliary, subject, infinitive. So this is usually the way we ask questions in English: auxiliary, subject, infinitive. All you have to do is memorize the formula. Okay, let's take a look at the questions that we have just written in the slide before, the exercise that we did. Okay, exercise number, I don't remember if it was number 3 or number 4. I think it was number 3. Okay, look, what do you do? Question, auxiliary, subject, infinitive. Where does John live? Question, auxiliary, subject, infinitive. Okay, the verb live is in the infinitive. The verb do is in the infinitive. Do you play any sports? Do you play? Do is the auxiliary. You is the subject. And play is the verb in the infinitive. When does your sister go? When does your sister go? When does your sister go shopping? When does your sister go? Question, auxiliary, subject, infinitive. Do you like dogs? Do you like? Auxiliary, subject, infinitive. Okay? And dogs is just a complement, just a word that is making the question, but it's after the infinitive. And number 6, how many pets? That's the question. Does, auxiliary, he, subject, have is a verb in the infinitive. Okay? Do Brazilians work hard? Do Brazilians work hard? Do is the auxiliary, Brazilians is the subject, work is the verb in the infinitive, and hard is just the continuation of the question. Okay, so there you have the formula working perfectly. Well done. I hope you learned this formula and never forget it anymore. Never again. Okay, never forget this formula again. You will always use it forever. All right, remember that some classes ago we talked about daily routines. We talked about Rapunzel's daily routine. What's her routine like? Okay, we talked about that. We watched the video. That was a few classes ago. You may remember. If you don't remember, go back and watch the class when we talked about that. Why am I talking about daily routine again today? Because now I'm going to give you an exercise asking questions about daily routine. So let's take a look. That's another example. Look, here we have another example. Here we have an example of Mark's daily routine. Mark is that boy who is having breakfast with his family, and he says, I have breakfast with my family at around 8:15. We usually have boiled eggs, milk with toast, butter and jam. So that was a class when we talked about Mark's daily routine. Everything Mark does from the time he gets up in the morning until the time he goes to bed at night. And that's called daily routines. Okay, everything you do during your day is your daily routine. So how can we ask questions about daily routine? I'm going to show you now some sentences. All right, these sentences are not about Mark's daily routine. These sentences are about Nicole's daily routine. Nicole has a daily routine, and we also talked about Nicole when we talked about Mark. Okay, so what's her daily routine like? She says, I get up at 7 o'clock, I go to the bathroom and I take a shower. Then I have breakfast at 7:30, and then I go to school by bus. I have lunch at 1 p.m. Okay, so she has lunch at school. And then she says, I finish school and I go straight home. Okay, so that's what she does. When she finishes school, she goes home. I do my homework at 3 p.m. Then I go to a dance club and I take dance classes at 5 o'clock or 5 p.m. Okay, I have dinner around 7:30 p.m. Then I help my mom with the dishes, so she helps her mom washing the dishes. And then she says that she goes to her bedroom and chats online with her friends. So I go to my bedroom and I chat online with my friends. Then I read a book before going to sleep at around 9 p.m. I turn off the lights at 10:30 and then I go to sleep. I sleep. Okay, so this is Nicole talking about her daily routine. Okay, I'm just talking about that now because we're going to do a quick exercise asking questions about daily routines. Okay, so let's take a look at the last exercise. We're almost done with today's class. There you are, exercise number 4. In this exercise, you were supposed to complete these daily routine questions. Okay, so you have a question and you have an answer. All you have to do is complete with the verbs. Okay, do you remember the QASI formula? Question word, auxiliary, subject, infinitive. Okay, never forget that formula. Question, auxiliary, subject, infinitive. So take a look at number 1. What time? Okay, then you have to complete. Your daughter is what? The subject. And then you have 2 spaces for the verb, and then you have on Saturdays. Okay, so how can you complete and make that question? Look at the answer. The answer is she usually gets up at about 8 a.m. Okay, she, who's she? My daughter, because you're asking me about my daughter. You're asking me about, when you say your daughter, I answer about my daughter. She, a girl, a woman. Okay, my daughter. It's a girl, so she. She usually gets up. Okay, gets up. What is the verb? What is the main verb? Get. But this main verb has a preposition, up. Okay, get up, go together to make the verb, the meaning of the verb. Okay, get up. Right, so what do we have to use in the question? We have to use the infinitive. We don't use gets up, we just use get up, the infinitive. And so let's see what the question will be like. There you go. Okay, what time does your daughter get up on Saturdays? What time does your daughter get up on Saturdays? Okay, what time? Question word. Does, auxiliary. Your daughter, subject. Get up, infinitive. What time does your daughter get up on Saturdays? She usually gets up at 8 a.m. Number 2, how? Nicole. We just talked about Nicole, right? Nicole's routine. To school. The answer is she goes to school by bus. So this gives you a hint what verb we have to use. We have to use the verb go, of course. Okay, so what's the question going to be like? I hope you got that right. Let's see. Exactly. How does Nicole go to school? How does Nicole go to school? How does Nicole go to school? She goes to school by bus. Number 3, where? Now you have your children. Your children is plural. Okay? And then homework. They do it. They do their homework in the living room. It means, it here stands for homework. So they do their homework, they do it in the living room. The question is where? What's the auxiliary that we use for they? Do they? Do your children, right? Let's take a look. So there you go. Where do your children do homework? Where do your children do homework? Okay, we have do again. Do as the main verb and do as the auxiliary. That's normal in English. Okay, we usually have, when we have the verb do, we usually have a repetition of verb do, because we have the verb do as the main verb and we also have the verb do as the auxiliary, just like in the question that we asked a few slides ago. What do you do? Okay, where do your children do their homework? Where do your children do homework? They do it in the living room. Number 4. Here we have a yes no question. Yes no question. The answer is no, he doesn't. So if the answer is no, he doesn't, we know that the question must use the auxiliary does. Okay, he takes a shower in the evening. Okay, does Mark. So what's the verb? What's the main verb that goes after the word Mark and before the word a shower? It's the verb take in the infinitive. Okay, take. So the question is, does Mark take a shower in the morning? Does Mark take a shower in the morning? No, he doesn't. he takes a shower in the evening. Okay, so what the auxiliary does here, if you look at this question number 4, you can see that the auxiliary does make you use the verb take. So you don't need to conjugate the verb in questions in English, okay? Because we use the auxiliary verbs. Let's take a look at number 5. What you before going to bed? I always read a book. I always read a book. Okay, reading a book is, well, read is a verb, right? Read is a verb. So you can use the verb read in the infinitive, but you can also use just the verb do, because reading a book is doing something, right? So there are two possible solutions here, two possible questions. You can ask, what do you read before going to bed? And I can answer, I read a book. I don't read newspaper, I don't read a magazine, I don't read the news, I don't read anything on my phone or my tablet. I read a book. Okay, that's one solution, but I prefer, I think it's more natural to ask, what do you do before going to bed? So what do you do before going to bed at night? I always read a book. When you ask what do you do, the answer could be anything. Okay, the answer could be I watch a movie, I listen to music, I play with my children, I eat dinner, whatever. Okay, when you ask what do you do before going to bed, the answer could be anything. That's why I prefer this question, because this question is more open, it's more general. You can answer different things to talk about the same question. You're giving information what you do before going to bed. And two more to finish our class today, numbers 6 and 7. Number 6 is a yes/no question. And what have we got here? Do they? You have to say do they, because does doesn't go with the word they, with the subject they. They is plural, third person plural. So do they, and what verb? What main verb are we going to use in the infinitive? The answer is, oh yes, they sleep almost 10 hours a day. So the verb here, the only possibility is to use the verb sleep. They sleep. Okay. Do they sleep a lot? Do they sleep a lot? Yes, they sleep almost 10 hours a day. That's a lot of sleeping, right? Sleep means dormir, okay? So 10 hours a day. 10 hours a day means 10 horas por dia, okay? We use 10 hours a day, meaning 10 horas por dia. And the last one, who she breakfast with, okay? Notice that with is the last word, and it's a preposition in the question, okay? Usually when you have a preposition in the question, it goes at the end of the question. It's the last word. Just like when we ask the question, where are you from? From is the last word. It's the preposition, right? So I'm saying this because in Portuguese we put the preposition in the beginning of the question. It's the opposite as in English, okay? Se você olhar essa frase, ó, quem, who é quem, ok? Ela, breakfast, café da manhã, with, com, ok? Então, em português, nós íamos pôr o com no começo. Com quem ela toma café da manhã? Com quem? Mas em inglês, não. Em inglês, eles vão dizer quem ela toma café da manhã com, ok? Esse com é que a preposição vai sempre no final, ok? Por isso que a gente pergunta, where are you from? Onde você é de, e não from where you are, como a gente faria em português, ok? Então aqui a gente está vendo um outro uso das preposições também nas perguntas em inglês, ok? Ok, look at the answer. She usually has breakfast with her dad. With her dad, okay? So, who, then the auxiliary. What's the auxiliary for she? Does, that's right. Who does she? And what verb? Of course, the verb is the verb have, okay? She usually has breakfast, verb have. So there you are. What does she have breakfast? Who does she have breakfast with? Com quem ela toma café da manhã? She usually has breakfast with her dad. Ela toma café da manhã com seu pai, okay? All right. I hope you enjoyed this exercise. And I hope you have enjoyed this class. So you may watch this video as many times as you want to make sure you remember and practice your English. So keep practicing your English, watching all the classes. Watch this video again every time you need to remember how to ask questions. But as soon as you start practicing, you will see that it's really simple, and you will start asking questions in English in a very natural way, and everything will be easy for you. Okay, please share this video with your connections. Okay, so with your friends, with your family, with everyone you feel like on your social media networks. Okay, please share this video link so people can watch it and more people can learn English and be happy. Okay, and if you wish to learn more English, and if you're still not on our group, please join our group, okay, to have weekly English classes. And you can do that by visiting inglesperfeito.com or just WhatsApp me at number 16-993-22-6060. Okay, so have a great day, enjoy the rest of your day, and keep learning English. Okay, keep doing your homework and keep practicing. I'll see you next class. Bye bye.